The pandemic reignited our love for the great outdoors, but there's one Colorado place that we hope stays under the radar.
You're listening to Travel FOMO, a podcast for people self-diagnosed with wanderlust.
Welcome to the Travel FOMO podcast. I'm Hillary Houghton, and I'm here with my co-host and co-traveler and husband, Jamin.
What's up?
And we're in the middle of our Cities in the States season.
That's right, we are. And if you missed last week's episode, we were in Orlando.
Yeah.
You'll want to hear all about that and how the family dynamics played out. There's a little debate about whether or not it's the happiest place on earth. So if you missed it, go back and check it out.
That's right. And this week we are taking a pretty drastic turn. We are going to head to the Rocky Mountains. And before we do that, just take a quick moment. Go ahead and subscribe to the Travel FOMO podcast from wherever you're listening. It'll make it so much easier for you to catch the next episode.
Absolutely.
It's just a little bonus
Oh, and
tip
you're gonna want
there.
to,
You're
for
going to
sure.
want to. You're welcome, people. But yeah, Salida came to light for us when my brother and sister-in-law bought some property there and started bringing the family out to check out Salida and visit them there. And so that's really how we got introduced to it.
Yeah, super cool place.
It's so cool. Lamar and Ashley, my brother and sister-in-law. So if you hear us referring to them, that's who we're talking about. But oh man, a lot of the things that we talk about in this episode, we just have to give them props for discovering it and letting us in on this cool little city.
Yeah, and that's the best way to find out about a smaller place like that that's not necessarily well known is to find a local and especially if it's family, they
Right.
can really give you like the honest opinion and tell you like, no, go here, do this, do that. And so like they kind of gave us a guided adventure to a really cool
Exactly.
spot.
Exactly. And the other thing that's cool about this episode is it's another instance in which we've been to a location several times. And so we can speak to it from a variety of different seasons and experiences that we've had. And so that's kind of fun too.
Yeah.
But my favorite part is food. So maybe
Yes.
we start with talking about food and some of the places that we've been to. Gosh, there's so many great little eateries there. There's Sweetie Sandwich Shop is a place that they have really good sandwiches. Oh my gosh, like sandwiches that you get the sandwich later and you're like, whoa, what is that? What did you get? And everybody keeps asking each other, what did you get? That looks amazing. Amicus Pizza is another great place. Mo Burrito.
Yep.
That's a place where you and I went and got some massive.
They'll hook you up.
Yeah.
I think we got salads actually when we went there.
Yeah, it's a very. We did get salads actually.
Yeah.
But it's a very manly place. There's
Yeah.
like all these burly men with these huge beards that are like serving you, and they kind of look at you and they're like, you want some meat on that? And you're
Yeah.
like, yeah. And then you just are like, whoa, how much meat are they gonna give me?
Yeah, they hooked us up. So
Yeah.
it was great.
Yeah, and it's very open air kind of environment too, which is kind of very indoor outdoor, which I think is really nice and
Yeah.
very casual.
Especially in Colorado.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. The Boathouse Cantina is great. It's like food with a view. You kind of get to look out over the river, which is a big part of Salida. And then one of my favorites, and literally liked it so much, I think we went there twice in one trip, is Chill Salida. And it is an ice cream place. And it is so good. Oh my goodness. It is so good. It's kind of like a little hole in the wall, kind of hard to find.
Yeah, you gotta love some good ice cream.
Oh my goodness.
And it's one of the places that will like the smell of like the waffle cone and everything, and you see people coming out that will like pull you in.
Yeah, you're like, where's that from? Oh my
Yeah,
goodness. Yeah.
gotta have that.
One time we were on a really strict eating plan at the time, and we went there and we both like had to watch family members eat the ice cream, and it was pretty
Yeah.
hard.
See, and you, like, this is where you and I differ a lot, because you were like, I can smell the waffle cone and, like, it's almost as good as eating it. And I was like, no, that's the complete opposite of what's true. Smelling it is just torture, because then you don't get to eat it.
Yeah, it was both hard and lovely.
I think you were just trying to be optimistic and talk yourself into something.
I was, yeah. But and the great night the nightlife is great too.
Yeah. Well, we got to go to like Woods High Mountain Distillery.
Yes.
And they make their own gin and they make their own whiskey, and we did a sampling of those, and they like great stuff.
Yeah.
So if you're in the area, go check them out. And they also, like, if you don't want to do a sampling, or you're like, that really isn't my vibe, like, cocktails there were really good.
So good. And I have to reiterate the props to my brother Lamar and sister-in-law Ashley.
Yeah.
Because they know us well enough to know we love a good cocktail. And we've taken them to some cocktail places in Dallas. And so they were repaying the favor. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
They hooked us up.
Yeah, we went with them, and it was a great night. The place had just enough people in it that it felt right. Like, you're not like, what's going on? There's nobody here. But it wasn't like packed, so you could get up, get your drinks. The service was great. They had really interesting cocktails. Like, they had one cocktail called the Jackson Pollock that had like balsamic and gin and lemon in it.
Oh my gosh, that was my favorite.
Yeah, it was really good.
So good, yeah. And I have to give a little plug too for Lamar and Ashley. They live there in Salida, but they really live all over the place because they travel too.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of it's been fun to exchange stories and hear from them on. They're really like the pro travelers in my family. They
do the van life stuff, and like,
you'll find them all over the internet when it comes to van life. You can find them as Fight Travels. They're on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and all that stuff. So they actually travel with my niece Everly, who is now 7 years old, and my nephew Atlas. And they're just some world travelers. Those kids have seen so much more of the world than I ever will.
They're really pretty.
They're so pretty.
Yeah, no, it was great. So thankful that they took us around. They also took us to Benson's. Just a cool local bar. That place was pretty packed when we went in there, but
and live music, I think.
Yeah, had live music going. Like, that was a really cool spot. Like, just a great down and dirty, pretty easy place.
Yeah.
And really cool, like a place where you can be comfortable.
Yeah.
Like, you can walk in and be comfortable. Everybody's going to be pretty friendly. Like, it was cool. We also went the next day to Tres Litros Brewery. And
we took my mamacita.
Yeah, you took your mom along.
Took her to the little brewery.
And
that was
fun. We got to sit out there and like really cool, like great beers and that kind of stuff. And you can get as like involved or uninvolved as you want. If you want to go just like have a beer and chill, you can. Or if you want to like sample everything and really get into the weeds of like how they brew their beer, you can do that stuff too. So cool spot to check out.
Yeah, very much so. And then their Soulcraft Brewery is another brewery that they have there in town. And I've only been there once, but I have drank their beer several times, and it's great. So I like that kind of stuff. I think I got an IPA that I really thought was great. But I just really love the opportunity to stop somewhere local, and even if maybe you're about to go river rafting, you're about to go do something, and you just want to grab a 6-pack to put in your ice chest, wouldn't it be nice to be able to do that with local beer? So
yeah, it's cool to give something local a try, see what it's all about. And they're, when you go to the actual spot, like, they're proud of their product, and they want you to enjoy it. So they'll ask you the right questions to help guide you to the right stuff, which is really cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
We also spent a good amount of time doing shopping.
We did do shopping. I feel like that comes up a lot more than I ever thought it would in our travel conversations.
I'm hoping to use these series of podcasts as like some form of intervention for you about the shopping.
Get people to all decide to have a problem.
You're like, you seem to do this a lot.
Yeah, that's not healthy. But I was actually pleasantly surprised. I didn't have much. I didn't have a lot of expectations. I didn't know what to expect from Salida, but I was really surprised because there's like all these great little boutiques. The downtown area is really cool.
Super cool.
It's been revived. Well, I say revived. I don't know what it looked like before, but it's like lively and bustling. I mean, people are walking everywhere. People are riding bikes everywhere. There's a lot going on. One of my favorite spots was Hal Mercantile, and it's like a coffee shop, but then also some really cool shopping, outdoorsy.
Yeah, they
kind of
had a little bit of everything in there.
And then there's a lot of vintage shops and thrift shops. My sister-in-law, Ashley, also introduced me to a clothing boutique called YOLO. And so I bought a fabulous oversized jean jacket there.
I feel like people should know. Oh, I remember. I feel like people should know how long you had been looking for a jean jacket.
Yeah.
Because this was like a recurring, like you were looking for the perfect jean jacket and there was never one that quite delivered.
Right. So I had actually, now that you say that, I remember exactly. I had been shopping for that jean jacket since the year before, whenever I was in Salida the year before. And I was, at that point, they were harder to find and I was looking in the vintage stores and the thrift shops. But that was June 2020. And then circle back around, gone to Salida a couple more times, and a year later, I'm back in Salida, and I am, shopping around in June 2021, May 2021, and I found it.
There it was.
Amazing. Yeah.
Just waiting.
But anyway, all that to say, there's great shopping there. And there's actually a lot of sporty stores.
Yeah.
I mean, go figure. It's Colorado. So there's bike shops. And when I say bike shops, I mean multiple bike shops in this one little town.
Right, yeah.
I could not believe how many bike shops. And then there's a running store and then places you can buy athletic gear and all kinds of stuff like that.
Is there something you know about that revolutionizes the way you travel? Can it solve problems and help people around the roadblocks on their adventures? Is it just plain cool? If you have a product like that, we'd love to tell people about it. Get in contact with us, and maybe next time we'll be talking about your product right now. I mean, there's so much to do there because largely because of the weather. Like the weather's really great there. So it's sort of a drier climate and it's a higher elevation. I think it's around like 7,000 feet. And so when the sun is out, it's actually really warm because you're kind of at that higher elevation. It's drier. So as soon as the sun comes out, it's really nice and really comfortable. Now, when the sun goes down, it gets like bone booty cold, like real quick.
Yeah.
So you better just be ready. And you start to see, like you notice your first couple of nights there, like as the sun is starting to set, all of the locals are like scurrying for coats and stuff. And you're like, that's kind of like, it feels great right now. And then in like 3 minutes, you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Where's my coat?
It's insane because you literally could be running around barefoot during the day. You could even, I've put on a swimsuit and rafted down the river and it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But once that sun goes down.
Yeah, once the sun goes down, it gets cold.
Yeah.
But like it has like all of the outdoor stuff, I feel like, because there's there's skiing and stuff like that. And even in the town, like a river runs through the town. So the town's kind of built around this river.
Right.
And there's a huge park along with like great sidewalks, stuff like that.
That park is really great, actually, just to reiterate.
Yeah.
It's a really great park.
It's awesome. Like the grass is beautiful. And when we were there was a big music festival and it was just a free deal that was out there. A couple of like street vendors set up, but like great bands, people like picnicking out on the grass, just watching. That's actually when we went to the brewery, which was only like a block away, and we could still hear the music
Yeah.
while we were hanging out at the brewery. Really cool spot. And the river, like a lot of the restaurants overlook the river. The park is right on the river, and people go down and like kayak and surf in it. It has like some undertow areas where people can actually like surf on the river. So really cool stuff, like kind of happening all the time. And everyone there is looking to be outside.
Yeah, right? That is the really cool part, is it facilitates, the whole town facilitates the ability to be outdoors. And even the shops and boutiques, like, granted, you know, we're talking summer in this moment, you know, summer season, but
Yeah.
but the doors are open. Like, somebody even let us bring our dog in
Yeah.
to shop with, which
Yeah,
is
Maggie
really
got to
fun.
go in,
She got to go
which
shopping.
was cool.
Yeah.
But we like, and this is actually in Salida, is where the first time that we got to whitewater raft,
Yeah.
which I have to say, like, always sounded fun. It always sounded like a really fun thing to do, and I always kind of wanted to do it. And so that's why we went. And we were like, you know, what can we handle? And so we took a tour that was like class 3 and 4 rapids.
Yeah.
And we went, and it was awesome.
It was addictive. All we could do was ask, what is the next level like? And
Yeah.
how soon can we come back and do
When
this?
can we go again?
So cool.
Yeah, we like, I think we spent the next several hours like researching, like, okay, where else can we do this? Like, how else can we do this? Like, we want to do this all
Yeah.
the time. It was so cool, so much fun. And a thing that I didn't really realize about it, because you start off, you have a guide, you get down to the river, and it's like a little bit of a bus ride where they kind of talk you through all the stuff, the safety things, and this and that. And you start to get the feeling of like, oh, like this could be a little bit more intense. This isn't just like sitting in a boat while a guide like paddles you around. Like, you're going to have to work a little bit. You're going to have to paddle, and you could fall out. A lot of people do fall out. That's pretty common. The boat could flip.
So crazy.
Like, and so you're like, okay, like this could be a little intense. And then you get down on the river and get in your raft, and the guide kind of teaches you how to paddle and walks you through his like commands, where he's like what he's going to ask of you. And we actually got to be in the front of the boat,
Yeah.
which was a lot of fun. Was really cool.
Nobody else really wanted to. We were like, okay.
Yeah. So like I kind of thought that we were going to have to jockey for position to get in the
Right.
front of the boat, but
I was a little scared, though. I was a little bit like, oh my gosh, I have to be in the front. Like, I want to and I don't want to, because I was getting a little nervous at that point. I was starting to get scared.
Yeah. Well, and I didn't realize that you sit kind of on the edge of the raft, like almost hanging off the edge of the raft so that you can paddle well
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But then once you get into it, it's so much fun.
Yeah.
And especially where we went through Browns Canyon on the Arkansas River, and there were a couple things about it, like they call it a pool and drop. So it's like some like just normal kind of slow moving river that you sit through for a little bit, and then you have some rapids and it gets really exciting, and then you get to kind of sit for a little bit, which was really cool. And Browns Canyon, you can only really hike into it or see it from the river. And I had never connected that while you're whitewater rafting, you're going through just this beautiful area, this canyon with these mountains on either side of you,
Pretty
and
untouched.
all this nature around, and no one else around except for the people on the river. It was so cool and so much fun.
Yeah. It was really, really cool. And one thing, you know, I think it can seem daunting to people to go whitewater river rafting, but really they empower you really well. So
Guides
like,
were great, yeah.
Yeah, the guides were so good. And I wasn't prepared for that. I thought it was going to be a lot of like, well, I hope you did your research. Here we go. And I was a little bit more worried about that. And real quickly I realized, one, I think we had the best tour guide that there was, the
Yeah.
best, trainer and coach. And he just, he was navigating us constantly. He always had something to say, and it was always either one, he was telling us about the beautiful landscape around us and everything that we were seeing, or two, he was teaching us how to and what to watch for while we're doing all this river rafting. And
Yeah.
but it felt like we were we were with people we didn't even know, and it felt like we were such a team by the time it was over with. It was really cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. And again, started a trend for us that hopefully we'll get to do for a long, long time.
Yeah, and that company was Salida River Adventures, I believe.
Yes.
So just want to give them a shout out.
Great place.
I've done it with them again another time, but it was, and this is good to know for our listeners, is that it was very family friendly. So think about you don't want whitewater rapids.
Right.
You just want to go river rafting, and it ends up going through the town, and you see all the condos on the side of the river and stuff, and so it becomes a little bit it's pretty easy. In fact, my nephews, Judah and Benaiah and Ephraim, they were bouncing from raft to raft, and and kids could get out and swim if they wanted, and so it becomes really just relaxing and easy. It's cool.
Yeah, it's a cool place, a little something for everybody.
Yeah.
You should, if you've never been, you should go check it out. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And there are so many other outdoor activities too. Now, Salida is in the part of southern, it's kind of mid-central, southern part of Colorado.
Yeah.
And so right there is where a lot of 14er mountains start. And and 14ers, I didn't know what that term was for a long time, but it's really mountains that are 14,000 feet or higher, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so there's a long line of them that starts there, which means a lot of people come to that area to hike, because it's a pretty big deal if you hike a mountain that is that tall. And so it's kind of a thing, And so I think that's really cool. And my brother actually has a really nice unobstructed view of Mount Chavano.
Yeah.
From his property.
Yeah, it's
and
so
it's
cool.
So cool to look out there and see. And we actually went camping on his property, and got to put up our little rooftop tent on the top of the FJ, and it was very cold. We made mental notes of how cold it was at night,
Yes.
even in May, and but it was awesome. It was really
Yeah,
cool to
so cool.
wake up to that view. And and that's one of those 14er mountains that everybody talks about. So
Yeah, so cool. We were going to do the hike, and then ended up it was a little bit too early in the season. We would have had to deal with more snow and ice than I think we really wanted to on our first one.
Yeah.
So we put it off a little bit, but yeah, and his Lamar's property backs up to a national forest.
Yeah.
Which was really cool.
We got to hike that. So
Yeah,
it all
we got
worked
to
out.
hike up that.
Yeah. And it was that was really actually ideal, because we could take our nieces and nephews. It was enough of a hike that it was hard. It was, was a bit of a, it's a bit of a lift. And it was you, me, Lamar, my sister Jessica, Mom, and my nieces and nephews. And so that was a lot of fun. And it was just really beautiful too, because it was property that's pretty untouched.
Yeah.
So that was really nice.
The national forest. It was really cool because we did a decent hike up, a climb up, and then we reached this plateau, this huge plateau up there on kind of on top, and it was just beautiful. You could see for a long ways, and we got to walk around up there, and the nephews and nieces got to run around and be kids.
Pick up bones.
Right. Yeah.
It
was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was fun. And some of the other outdoor activities, there's so much stuff. There's a hiking, then there's snow skiing, which is kind of I think a lesser known fact that Monarch Mountain is right nearby. And so people could easily hit up that ski resort. It's a modest sized ski resort, and it's got but it's got 5 lifts. I was looking it up and I was like, wow, there's actually 5 different lifts. It's got, quite a bit. And then if you were to go a little bit further away, there are the sand dunes, which
Right.
people don't know that. That is just crazy about Colorado, that you could see mountains and then sand dunes and then be in the snow, be in the hot sunshine. Like, you go swimming.
Yeah.
There's so many options.
It really is like, until you've been to Colorado, you really don't get why like people love it so much. But then once you go and you see all there is to do and like how much nature there is to explore, like it's really, really cool and worth going.
Yeah.
But
sure.
and Salida has other stuff too. Like if you're wanting to do something more traditional or stay in town, there's like a skate park, mini golf.
Yeah.
They have an aquatic center like built around some hot springs there that you can go
That's nice.
swim, and I think like learning stuff for the kids involved with that too. Like
Yeah.
it's a cool place, and it just it has its own vibe to it, and there's like deer that hang out in town, like huge deer that just hang out in town. And our river guide was telling us that they hang out sort of in the same places.
Yeah, so they like pick a lawn,
Right.
and
So
sit
there's
on
like
that
a
lawn.
neighborhood when like these few deer like are usually at this house or like that, and then others are in other parts, like which is kind of crazy. But also watch out for them, because we were driving back. We like left town and it was night and it was dark, and we're driving on the highway, and some elk ran out in front of us and like scared the bejesus out of both of us.
Yeah, that was like a pretty dramatic moment too, because we just traveling is not always what you think it's going to be, right?
Yeah.
You have like some pretty legit ideas of what you think you're going to experience over the course of that trip. And this was Memorial Day, and we thought everything was all good, and then all of a sudden we realized that I have rolled down my window and it is not going to go back up. And we have, there could be weather rolling in. We found out later that weather was going to be rolling in.
Yep.
We needed to drive home, and driving home with a window open did not sound like a lot of fun, and it was not going to lend itself towards great conversation between the two of us. And so we were both in this like really frustrated mode,
Right.
finding this out. And then it's really late at night, and we're driving, and we're like, oh my, like I just happened to look up and I was like, and even though everything in me said you need to stay calm because you don't want to scare,
Right.
scare you because you're the one driving. And even though I knew it, it was like my reaction was happening so faster than my thought process could. And so I scream, and you're like, ah, and like we're just like screaming, and these deer, we're trying to swerve and not hit these deer. And it was like crazy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you were like, could you like please do not do that? And I was like, I know, even as it was happening, I was like, I shouldn't be screaming, but it's just happening so fast.
They did kind of come out of nowhere. Fortunately, like we were able to miss them, but yeah, it was pretty. And it's one of those things that like it was close enough and all happened so fast that it's one of those things that like shakes you for a little while.
Yeah.
That it's
truly.
hard to kind of like wash through your mind and like kind of get over it. And we were headed back to like go to sleep, and so it was like it's just rattling, and you just stay rattled for a while.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I was like truly shaken. Yeah, that was crazy.
And there's like all kinds of great places to stay if you're gonna go. Like,
yeah, I mean, lots of camping. So there are camping sites, there are RV sites, all along the river, which is great.
Yeah.
I think any place along water is just fabulous.
Right.
But then I've stayed at like the Loyal Duke Lodge, which is like, it's been remodeled. It's one of the hotels in town, and it's been remodeled, and it's got this vintage style. And there are also several others that I haven't personally stayed at, but they're great. They look
cool.
really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there are Airbnbs. You could get something out in the mountains, or you could do something that overlooks downtown, the park downtown.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, really cool spots available. They get like taken up pretty quick, especially on like holiday weekends, like peak weekends. They go pretty fast, so like book in advance. But lots of really cool spots.
yeah.
And I don't know if you remember, but like on our way back, so the window would not roll back up, and it wasn't completely down, but it was probably like a quarter of the way down.
Yeah.
And we knew we were gonna have to drive back the whole way, like back to Dallas. This is gonna be a long drive, and we knew that it was gonna rain.
Mm-hmm.
And so we stopped at Walmart and like bought a bunch of tape to like
Yep.
tape up the window. And I remember like I was just so frustrated that
you
we
were
couldn't
so
get
mad.
the window to roll back up. And I feel like I had just, well, it's funny because like the day before, your brother had asked me, Lamar had been like, so with the FJ, have you ever had any problems with it? And I'm like, no, never any problems with it. And then like that very next day, it like lets me down. Fortunately, it ended up being a cheap fix. Like once we got back, we just had to replace the switch.
Well, that was the other thing, is we're trying to save money and all kinds of stuff.
Right,
and then
yeah.
we just, the sinking feeling of like, how much is this going to
Right.
cost?
Like what's wrong? How much is it going to cost? Like, is this going to be some crazy part that is hard to get or that kind of stuff? But
Yeah.
we had to like tape that window up, and I'm glad we did, like, because we thought about like, we'll just drive and like it'll just be what it is, but the wind noise alone would have been killer. And then it did rain on us most of the
lot.
way home,
Oh, yeah.
so I was really glad that we just had gone ahead and taped it up.
Yeah. And when he says taped it up, I have to clarify. This is like strip by strip by strip. And it was actually really, really thoughtful. I was like, oh my gosh, like you have a legit approach to this. Because I was like, I don't understand what's happening. And like, he only bought tape. What are we going to do with this tape? Like, we need like, we need like a 6-inch, piece of plastic or something. But you just taped layer after layer after layer after layer. And it just created a wall. And I mean, it even blocked out sound. It blocked out every bit of rain that came
Yeah,
our way.
made a window out of tape, basically.
You literally made a window out of tape. It was pretty remarkable.
Well, that's one thing. Like, I may not be super handy, but you give me a roll of duct tape, I can do some damage.
We were rolling with the punches, and we literally were talking about the podcast too. We were like, okay, so this is just life. This is real life, and these are the stories that other people experience too, and we're just gonna talk about it.
Yeah, we have to
That's
throw it
real.
out there. Like, it happens. Sometimes you gotta tape the window up before you drive 12 hours back home.
Sometimes it's just not that great of a drive. Yeah.
And, once we made it home, looked back on our time in Salida, and like it was awesome. Caught the whitewater rafting bug, like from that particular trip.
And we've got great photos of that.
Yeah, we'll have to throw those in.
Definitely need to show people the photos from whitewater rafting. That was awesome. And that was actually, I later found out that is what made my brother want to move to Colorado, is he had done that same river and he had rafted it with family and like my aunts and uncles or something like that. And he just thought, this is amazing. I have to live here. And
Wow.
and that's how he caught the bug and ended up in Colorado.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I love that. But you guys, you can find those photos that we're talking about. They are on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. And yeah, we'll have to, we're going to have to plan another trip to Salida, honestly, because
Yeah.
now we're talking about it and now I want to go back there.
Yeah, we're going to have to get back. If you enjoyed our conversation about Salida, be sure to subscribe to the Travel FOMO podcast from wherever you're listening. If you want to find out more about us, you can do that at travelfomopodcast.com.
That's right. And if you don't mind, leave a rating and a review for us, because that actually helps people find us.
Yes.
And so if you're listening to this far into this episode, maybe you think it's worth it to go ahead and give us a rating. So
Yeah,
that'd be great.
help us help other people find us. Come back next week. We are going to talk about Marfa.
Oh, yes. Love love it. Oh my gosh. We're getting down to some of these small cities, guys, these small little places, and Marfa's even smaller than Salida, and it is
really cool spot way down in South Texas. Also go to Big Bend National Park, and so that'll be in there too. So yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, definitely check it out. But until then, keep living life, live it as fully as you can, because it is really short.
Wander well.